Daniel, you crazy. Round up family, greetings. How is tell me, Daniel, where are you right now, by the way?
I'm actually sitting in my home office and back in New York City, one of the five boroughs in the city of New York.
Nice. Now, I'm presuming, I'm rewinding when I was there last year with you. It was on fire. We had an opportunity to hang out in the city. It was live. Tell me how
Yeah.
the theme of the city is now.
Yeah, you know what, Chris? You'd find it much different. There's not as much energy in the streets as usual.
Mhm.
Um, it's a much different environment. A lot more depression. Just doesn't seem right, considering especially because of the summer months, right?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but
I
it is
missed
what it
this.
is, man. We deal with what we got, and you keep moving forward.
Yeah. hmm That's something. So today, as everybody gets joined on, let's just go ahead and before I do the introduction, well, let's do it like this. I want to just give the backstory of why we are here today. I know Daniel is a good friend of mine. I met him a couple years ago, but my goal is to share my friends with you because I promise you, you're not going to be bumping into guys like Daniel who's been in the real estate business since 1989. Whenever I run into a problem or something I haven't seen, I pick the phone up. Boom, I get him on the well. I don't always get him, but he has some knowledgeable information to give me. And I feel like I've been doing it for a long time. So round up, please welcome my friend and real estate investor, father, husband, super entrepreneur, Daniel Barrero. What's up, bro?
Hello, everyone. Let me ask you, Chris, is there a way for us to see whoever's leaving a message or who's on here?
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to show the questions at the end. So we'll be able to do that. And if you go to your right side, you'll just click on comments. You can see them coming in and I'll bring them on.
Yeah, great, because I'd love to, if there's any questions or.
So what we'll do is, you and I will go back for about 30, 40 minutes to get the content out for the Landlord's Guide to Section 8 Housing. The reason I asked Daniel to join me, you guys, I'm telling you, you are being a part of my training. I'm literally putting together the Landlord's Guide to Section 8 Housing as we speak. And Daniel, I couldn't do this. I couldn't do it without having my boy Daniel. He's a rental master. Just give us a little backstory before we get into our meat and potatoes about Section 8 for
Well,
the day.
first thing I want to is thank. So we're doing a free mentorship program right now. We have 5 people in our first class, and Brittany, she's online watching right now. Brittany Freeman, thank you for the support.
Hey, Brittany.
But so essentially we started in 1989. First property I bought. I actually just posted a YouTube channel on my YouTube channel with doing all the new waterproofing in the front, including changing the some of the parts of the stairs that I had done 31 years ago that we're now having to redo now.
Wow.
It's our first property, so if they go to our YouTube channel, they could actually see the first property we ever bought in downtown Brooklyn, Fort Greene, Brooklyn, New York. So we've been, essentially what we've been doing is fix and flips as well as flipping land, primarily throughout the state of Florida. And then we take those profits. Essentially, all we do is pay Uncle Sam his pound of flesh, right? Because he always has to get his share. And then we take those profits. We don't take anything for ourselves. We take that entire amount and put it into long-term investment to create cash flow from here to kingdom come, and essentially leaving a legacy, right? A financial legacy. But to do that, you really got to get your procedures and processes in place to manage those rental units, especially at this quantity.
Tell me about that mindset. It sounds like to me you are investing first and spending what's left. You are investing first and spending what's left instead of spending and investing the rest, Daniel. Is that kind of
you and I, we've had this conversation like multiple times, not including that. I had this conversation with people that always call me to ask me, well, how do I start? And essentially it comes down to living below your means, right? So if you're a real estate investor and you're not born with a silver spoon in your mouth, essentially you got to sacrifice and you got to go without. So although we were making tons and tons of money, my brother and I was my partner, on the fix and flips, we literally spent not 1 cent. We didn't increase our lifestyle. We didn't buy a bigger house. We didn't go buy new cars. We didn't take vacations. It literally went into a separate account after we paid our quarterly taxes, right? And then from that account, we take the money and then we put down larger down payments to hedge our bets on the mortgage. So, can we get away with putting 10% down? Yeah, we can, but we like to put anywhere between 25 and 35%.
Why, Daniel?
Because it gives us more leverage if we hit bad times, right?
Cash flow.
But I'll give you an example. In this particular environment, it hasn't happened to us yet, but I suspect it might. And you and I had this conversation yesterday, probably in November, December, when the holidays come, people are going to be hit, they're going to be hitting some hard times, especially those people that just got their unemployment cut, right? Or were in industries that were affected by this pandemic. Who the hell could have ever imagined this coming, right? Yeah. So as a result of that, I suspect we're going to have a lesser cash flow. I could still handle those mortgages because we put down larger down payments, and those larger down payments reduced our monthly payment, and it reduces our risk.
I love it, Daniel. You know what, man, as I'm getting, and we're going to get to the roundup as you're getting logged in. Daniel, at this point in my life, I'm almost like chunks of cash. It's almost, and I don't want to sound oversimplifying it. It's almost irrelevant to me as opposed to our cash flow. I don't want to minimize having cash because, we got that set aside, but I'm like, I don't think about that as much as I'm thinking about the cash. Oh, is that where you're headed with this?
100%. So, when we have cash in the account, we get over anxious.
It's like
I get really anxious.
Liability.
Yeah, I have anxiety attacks actually. So I have to control myself. That was an exaggeration, but I got to remind myself and take that deep breath and say, don't spend it, until the numbers make sense, until the deal makes sense. Because at the end of the day, it's sitting there and it bothers me.
Liability.
It angers me.
The liability.
Yeah, because it's not making money.
Yeah. Right. Roundup, I hope you are sucking this in from somebody that has been doing this since the 80s. I know it may seem a bit of a mountain for some people to have that mindset, but I'm hoping that they can listen to you now and adapt the mindset early, as opposed to, I guess, suck off the energy that both of us. I'm thinking you've been doing this 89. I've been 2004, so we got almost like 50 years of just because I'm looking at now, Daniel. It's almost like I can look in my mind. I can rewind and see where this is going. Almost. Are you like that too?
You mean in reference to this pandemic?
Reference to Thanksgiving. First thing you said, holidays. I mean, Santa Claus always comes before rent. From my experience, and I'm not saying it I'm generalizing here. And I know you got good tenants, so we'll get to that too. So
we had this conversation. So, but of course, everyone here has it. How do I say this? I'm trying to find a politically correct way to say it. I do a lot of background check with my tenant applications. And not only do they have to pass certain criteria on paper, and even if they pass all that criteria, the next thing is that they have to have an interview with me, right? So even on the units that we manage from afar. So although we're in New York, I have multiple units in New Jersey and Florida, right? I talk to every single one of those applicants, whether it be through a Zoom conference, whether it be through a phone conference, whatever that may be, right? And it's not only what's on paper, but it's the personality type, right? So I got to make sure that we're going to mesh, because essentially when you're my tenant, I'm your landlord. We're coming into a contractual agreement that we're married to each other for the next year. And I don't want to be married to somebody I got to fight with, right? Mm-hmm. So nobody does, right? We want to be married to somebody who that, yes, there's going to be a problem eventually that neither you nor I may have, neither myself as a landlord or they as the tenant may have considered would happen, but it's how we handle it, right? Are we going to handle it fighting with each other, or are we going to talk it out and find the remedy to it, that's something that's amicable to both?
I love it.
So that's why I really don't have tenant landlord problems. The people I normally do have those problems with are people that were in the property prior to me purchasing it.
Gotcha.
Because they were placed by somebody else.
So you got a good system to screen people.
Right.
So the topic for today, and I will be including this in the Landlord's Guide for Section 8 Housing Roundup. If you want to get notification when this is done, make sure all you have to do, it will be done 1 week roundup. I'm giving you guys my blood, sweat, and tears, showing you how to locate, screen, and place your next Section 8 tenants so you will be able to get your rent over the next few months and to pass the new year. So I'm praying that you guys, I don't know if you've got good tenants like Daniel, but today I want Daniel to share with us his take on the Section 8 housing. And I want to just rewind. I know he's had to have done some of this stuff over the years. Is it good or bad? Give us some stories, Daniel. Where are you at with Section 8?
Well, before we get into that, I just want to answer a question from TB Williams. He's asking me about dead trees in front of his property in New York City. You're going to have a hard time with this administration getting that removed. But
where's that at, Daniel? Did you see that?
It says New York City has a dead tree, and he's been requesting through 311. So 311 is a perfect place to start. But where I normally get more reaction from 311 is after I get the reference numbers and I call 3 times. Call the community board. You'll be surprised how that gets removed immediately. And as far as
we got to get to the questions later, man.
Okay, Sylvia from Laura, just watch at the end. I'll be giving you all my contact information.
Look, y'all, I promise you, we're gonna give it away. Y'all know how we get down. Come on, man. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm not gonna hold you hostage. So Daniel, let's go ahead.
No, tell me. I'm sorry. Ask me the question again.
All right. So I want to know the purpose of this training here. I am creating the Landlord's Guide to Section 8 housing. You've been doing this longer than me. I want to know, have you done Section 8 housing and what's your opinion on it? And no, not only from the past, forecasting into the future, Daniel.
So personally, when you told me that you were going to be doing this course for Section 8, I thought it was a great idea. And I'll give you the primary reason why. Because of this pandemic, I did actually a live video a week and a half ago while I was on vacation on this. If I remember correctly, I got the information from Aspen. It was the Aspen report. And apparently we're going to have over 41 million predicted eviction commencements come the end of October, beginning of November. I think there's going to be a moratorium. There'll be some regions in the country that are going to push that back further. But at the end of the day, regardless, by the first quarter of January, that's going to be even higher, I suspect. So this, to me, that's mind-boggling, right? You think about this. You got over 41, probably more than that, 41 million evictions. Where are these people going to go? Right? I mean, these are people with kids, elderly. This is going to be a nightmare. However, when you had brought up to me about that you wanted to start a course teaching people about Section 8, I thought it was a great idea because those people aren't getting kicked out. My understanding of it, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, because you probably know more about this with all the research you've been doing, is that even if they lose their jobs, the tenant's portion that they're supposed to be paying is going to be picked up by Section 8, if I'm correct.
It goes down. The tenant's portion of the rent goes down, actually.
Okay. So essentially, you're still getting your rent. If you're a Section 8 landlord in this environment, you're great. You're in a great position.
That's the first thing you said. Wow.
Yeah. You are in an incredible position to withstand the storm. If you're not, somebody like myself, the majority of my tenants are not Section 8. I got worries. My worries are alleviated a lot because a lot of my mortgages are already paid. If I do have mortgages, they're very low amounts because of the down payment I put down, right? So I've hedged myself. I've prepared myself for this catastrophe. Did I know it was going to be specifically this catastrophe, COVID-19? Absolutely not. But a good investor plays defense as well as offense, right? So if you're not playing, if you don't have a good quarterback to throw that ball, doesn't matter what your defense, how many times your defense protects that goal line, right? So you got to play both offense and defense. So again, that's why me personally, I think your audience, by tuning into your channel, your YouTube channel, as well as incorporating this class that you're putting out, I think they're in a fabulous position.
You know what, Daniel? I don't know, man. I was just remembering myself back in 05 and 06 when I got into Section 8 in 07. I had many sleepless nights, almost like I was going to the casino, not pulling the slot machine, not knowing which rents were coming in. And my heart, spirit, and my soul is telling me that there's going to be a lot of those landlords out there right now, especially when Thanksgiving comes, Daniel, because that was me. It was me. And on top of the pandemic stuff.
Again, I think if you're a Section 8 landlord, I got to say it again, you're going to weather this storm extremely well. If you're not, and you have high mortgages, if you bought these properties in the last 3 to 4 years and you put down low down payments, you better start figuring out a way to play some serious defense and really quick.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say it.
Yeah. Well, round up, we have 90 people on here right now, Daniel. I just want to make sure I remind you, please get your questions in for Daniel. This will be included in the Landlord's Guide to Section 8 Housing. I'm recording it. I'm piecing this. It will be pieced into the training. Daniel, tell us about now. I know you're not like a big fan of Section, as we have talked a million times about this. Tell me about why you don't deploy it. Like, to me, I'm Section 8 release options. I don't do traditional tenants. I just don't do it. This is exact when you talk about you knew something was coming. We just don't know what.
That's right.
Savvy investors like you know it's coming. You see all these people. You see highs, lows, but your tenant, your rentals they go by. They're real steady. Go ahead.
So my tendencies, I really don't. Do I suspect I may have a problem? Yes. Do I suspect I'm going to have the same problem as everyone else?
Generally speaking, Daniel, I need to
no.
Take you out of it. Yeah, take you out of it.
Do I? So I do have Section 8. I do have Section 8 tenants.
Okay.
The difference is, though, I don't have a lot of them, right? But what I find is that Section 8 could be a very enjoyable experience, and it could be a nightmare. And in my experience, and again, this is only but with my experience, I don't have any statistical facts in reference to this. It all depends on what region of the country you're in, and then within what county within those local regions.
What do you mean?
So I'll give you an example. So here in New York City, if I've got a problem with a Section 8 tenant, dealing with Section 8 is a nightmare.
Really?
They're rude. They don't pick up the phone. They don't respond.
You're talking about the caseworkers.
Precisely. They're rude. They don't pick up the phone, and they don't return calls on a timely manner. They don't return emails. And if they do, it's very short and curt and without providing all the information you need. So now what it leads to is another email asking to elaborate, right? Now, so then I find that if I go to the southern part of New Jersey, I had the same problem. But then if I go to the northern part of New Jersey, they're pleasant. They return emails the same day, sometimes within the hour if you do it during business hours. They're easy to communicate with. They're easy, and they actually try to help resolve the problem, whatever that problem may be with that tenant, to the extent that they legally can, of course, right?
I see.
And then I found the same exact thing in Central Florida, like Seminole County. It's a very easy way they're easy to communicate. And that's the biggest thing with any tenant situation is the communication process, right? If there's open communication, everything could be resolved. It's just a matter of figuring out how to resolve it. But if you can't communicate, that's a problem because then it prolongs the problem and then the prolonging makes it worse.
Gotcha.
Right.
So that sounds like, wow, regional thing. Tell me, I'm presuming that you don't, so you have rentals in different areas. you can pinpoint, okay, this one's not too good, this one's good, this one's not too good. Is that kind of what you can see?
I can, as far as dealing with Section 8. So when a tenant comes to me with a voucher, I have that tenant go through the same exact process as everyone else. Because they have a voucher does not disqualify them because of the region they're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm going to be really upfront with that tenant. If it's in a region that I've had problems with, or a county that I've had problems with, I'm going to be like, you got to get your caseworker on the phone with me now, like today.
Right.
And let's try to get ahead of what my experience has shown me that could happen, so that we're not having the difficulties with trying to get the apartment inspected, or me paying somebody to be there from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, because they don't give you a 2 hour, they don't even give you a 2 hour window. So this is New York City. I'm not paying a guy $5 or $10 an hour to sit there. It's a lot more. It's a lot more than that, because I can't sit there waiting for the inspector to come.
Well, tell us about the Daniel. Let's stay here for a minute, because I know where we're at. I'll have to pay somebody to be there, or I will be there. You have to be there when they show up, when the inspectors round up. When you have a property on Section 8, there is an inspector that must come out to pass you before you're going to get any money. So, Daniel, just elaborate a little bit on that, if you don't mind.
I'd much rather that you elaborate on it, since you've actually done it so many more times than I have. But I'll give you my perspective, and you could tell me what yours is. Is that the inspector comes out and he goes through, they have a list. And that
I'm not talking about the inspection itself. I'm talking about, we can get to that too. I'm talking about the difficulty of getting the inspector there. That's a bigger picture than even passing. You got to get them there.
So sometimes in the city of New York, I've waited as much as a week. And in a week's time, I'm not showing that apartment. I lost a week's worth of potential tenancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the issues. Whereas in Florida, I've gotten them there as soon as 2 days.
Gotcha.
That's a major difference, right? And they're kind enough to say, we'll be there tomorrow between 12 and 4. Whereas in New York City, they say you got to be there on such and such date between 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. Like, wait a minute, guys. And they never show up at 8 o'clock. But you got to have somebody there just in case they do, right? So, yeah, that's a problem. And again, and I feel bad for the tenants themselves, right? Because none of this is their fault.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
None of this is their fault. They've done everything they were supposed to do. Now it's just a matter of Section 8 doing their job. And again, according to my experience, and I have no proof in reference to statistical facts on this. Again, just my experiences. This is what I've had to go through.
Gotcha. So I guess I'm wanting to find out, once you get them there, I guess, okay, so you've passed that hurdle. You got a lot of layers here. Getting on the schedule, somebody being there to let them in, passing the inspection, them coming back out, because I very rarely pass on the first time they come out. I don't know about you. Getting them back out, re-inspecting, having someone there. There's a lot of layers there, brother.
There's been very, very few times I've had to have a re-inspection.
Okay, so you're thorough.
Well, you know my personality. Yeah, I'm very detailed. And my workers already know that, so they don't want to come back either, because they're not getting paid if they got to come back.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They're not getting paid. I'm not getting paid. I'm not going to pay you for laziness. That I won't do that. If you did the job right the first time, we wouldn't be here.
Wow, I can only imagine. I'm on this side, the business side of Daniel. I'm just only imagining the relationship having to work for you, bro.
You know what, man? I got guys that been with me for 20, 22 years. They finish the job, they get paid. They get paid in full. I don't ever hold back money. Mm-hmm. But if you want to work for me again and you screwed up and you don't show up, you're not getting paid. You're not. Yeah. Forget that. Whatever job you're on, you ain't going to get paid until you fix this. From mine, and you're never going to get another job again.
Wow.
So that's.
You got a lot of work.
There's a financial incentive for them to do it right.
Gotcha.
Right.
Roundup, we're 25 minutes in. We have 115 people here on trying to hear what saith Daniel Barrero on this Section 8. And please make sure just go to the video description roundup below. You can put your email address in and be notified when the Landlord's Guide to Section 8 housing will be available. 1 week. It is almost done. Thank you for allowing me to pour this information to you as you try to keep your rent. And even if you don't own a property, Roundup, you can work with other landlords. That's what we do. Is people ask us to help screen their tenant and help them with the inspections. So get your questions in for Daniel Barrero. Daniel, okay, so give me something for my rounduppers that I get. Matter of fact, I talk to people almost every day. When I tell them about Section 8, they're like, I don't want to deal. I don't want to deal with that. Those people tear your house up. I get so much of that, Daniel. What would you say to that?
It's all a matter of your screening process. That's what it comes down to. There's as many people that are not in Section 8 that are going to tear up your property as there are that are in Section 8. It's just about your screening process, right? How many times have they paid late? One of the things I do is, if the current landlord is going to always tell you they're great because he wants them out of there, right? Mm-hmm. So I tell them I want to see canceled checks front and back. So if the rent's due on the 1st and the check is always cash on the 15th, 20th, 19th, I don't know a landlord that holds a check for 3 weeks, do you? Right? Mm-hmm. So that means they're paying late. Or I'll look at some people say, well, I don't have checks. I pay everything online. No problem. Show me the last 4 months of bank statements. You could block everything off with a marker and accept the part that goes to your rent. Let me see when you're paying your rent. And again, I use that as a guide, right? If they've been down to housing court. But again, it also goes according to the region you're in. So New York City, you can't use housing court records against the tenant. That's illegal.
What?
Yes, but you could use that in Florida.
Yeah, you can use it here. I don't know.
Right. So there's a lot of things you can't use, right? So it all depends on the region is how we determine how is what changes the application process. But there's ways around that, right? By asking them for their checks, their canceled checks. Okay, so I'm not using the housing court because now if I see, you haven't paid in rent in the last 3 months because you don't have no proof of it, there's a problem. I don't have to go to housing court records to see there's a problem. Mm-hmm. Do you see where I'm coming from? There's ways around that. And I hate to say this, social media is an excellent way to you could go into anybody's profile and within 10 minutes, you know who they are. Am I lying?
You know what? Everybody I hire, first place I'm going, man. It's a Facebook to see you. Yeah.
Right. I don't know if you're a family man, if you're an outdoors person, if
drinking, smoking,
every weekend or misspending your money, you like flashy cars. All this I know through your social media profile.
It's funny you mentioned that. So, what are you? Is that going to give you a barometer of whether you want to deal with these type of people?
Well, the first thing is I look at all the paperwork first, right? There's a lot of paperwork I need to get. And then if you get through that process, then I'll go through the extra steps. But again, it all depends on the region. So, I won't run a housing check on someone where the region doesn't allow me to. I won't do the social media where the region says that law is that's an invasion of privacy. So it all depends on the region. But then that means you got to find alternative ways to figure that information out without using what they're telling you can't use.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. All right, so we got that. So tell me about your screening process is pretty much the same, whether it's a regular tenant, Section 8 tenant.
Precisely. So, again, if I always love to see the inside of their cars. I make it my point, like in other words, and I make it my realtor's point that they walk by their car. So, and they take pictures of the inside. If possible. So if I see a person come out clean as sin, but the inside of the car is a mess, that's the way they're living. Look, most likely that's the way they're living. I can't say that's the way they're living, but most likely that's the way they're going to live in their house, right? Mm-hmm. So if the car's messy on the inside, who knows? Maybe they had a rough day that day or the day before. But if it's filthy, no, I'm sorry, it's not. Yeah. Things like that is what we look for. All the little tall tale signs is what matters.
Have you had to evict a Section 8 tenant, or do you have a Section 8 tenant that, let's just say, that tore your place up, Daniel? I'd like to know. I mean, you've done so many. I mean, you've been around forever.
So my first experience with a Section 8 tenant was horrifying.
Tell us about it, Daniel. What year was this, by the way?
I would probably say maybe 98.
So you're relatively new to the game back then, though.
Oh yeah. She schooled me.
Let me ask you before you move forward. Do you believe in the philosophy of either the tenants will train you or you train them?
Well, I've been trained by so many tenants, and now I'm the trainer.
Me too. I'm like, shit. Okay, you tell me. All right, how you want me to jump? You've been there, right?
Oh man! And anybody who tells you they haven't, they're lying to you.
They're lying. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, no. Yeah.
So yeah, listen. She schooled me. It was a learning lesson. To this day, I'm still using those lessons. Yeah. Whatever money I lost, I made up tenfold with the lessons that she taught me.
Give us some, Daniel. That's why we're here, man. Give us some.
I'll try to make it as brief as possible. But back then, because of this, basically the city, you had to go back to Section 8 and get permission from Section 8 to evict them.
Oh, wow.
This was back then. That's not the case.
They were protected almost.
Precisely. And then remember, this is New York City, so it's a litigation city in addition to litigation state, and they're very pro-tenant and against landlords. So she was in my apartment literally with me going through the eviction process for 14 months.
Oh, my Lord. You had mortgages, Dan?
I did. But again, what saved me was I put 35% down. Right? And she did leave me a mess. But that was okay because I had wanted to renovate and re-gut that apartment. And actually, Kris, the apartment that I had that experience in is in the apartment that I was renovating when you were in New York City, that you and I walked. Yeah. That's a small world.
It is a small world.
But yeah, she schooled me. But what I learned was that because she had a legal aid attorney.
Oh, they're beasts.
You know what I've learned, Kris? They have a job to do, and their job is to make the landlord look like a slum landlord. Whether it's true or not, it's irrelevant, right? And then my job as a landlord with my attorney is to make that tenant look and prove that she's lying or he's lying, correct? Mm-hmm. But once I left that courtroom, I never hold it against those attorneys. I never take it personal. And you'd be surprised when you go out into the hallway how much you can negotiate if you're negotiating in good faith and with respect for each other, correct?
Gotcha.
So what happened was, and I'll never forget his name, that he had a problem. He had a tenant that was a problem. I wasn't. He realized that, and especially when they do it for so long, right? Yeah. So he was very upfront with me. He says, "Listen, I got to do my job, whether she's right or wrong, or whether she's a problem or not. I still got to keep her there as long as I can." So, but you know what he did do? Because we developed a working relationship, he made sure I got paid by Section 8 every month.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. For my rounduppers that don't know what legal aid is, Dan, just give us a 40,000-foot description.
So essentially, if you can't afford your own attorney, the court will provide you an attorney to represent you against the landlord.
In civil court.
In civil court, yes.
That's something.
In housing court. And again, those guys are there. They're there to do their jobs, and they're overwhelmed as well. But I never take it personal. And if you negotiate in good faith, 99% of the time, they're going to see that you're not there to hurt anybody. You're just there trying to make a living. And they'll work with you. They'll try to work the process with you to make it as convenient for both parties. and that's what he did.
It sounds like as I was putting this course together, Daniel, it's 4 sections, right? Locating the tenant, screening the tenant, pre-inspection, post-inspection, right? Screening the tenant, Daniel, is like 4 times as long as the other 3 sections. Like the screening part of this course is like, it's just, I don't think it's like 4 hours long. Do you think, in your opinion, doing this since 1989, is the screening process the most important part of getting the right tenant?
Without a doubt. It's the most important part of investing in real estate, period.
Mm-hmm.
Period. If you don't get that right, everything else falls apart. It doesn't matter how good you did your renovations, doesn't matter how good of a person you may want to be, doesn't matter how good of a manager you may be. If you pick the wrong tenants, everything falls apart. So that is the most important. That's the most important part of the foundation. Mm-hmm. You know, look, I've made mistakes. Sometimes I pick the wrong tenant. You know, when you're doing the numbers that we do, it's going to happen. Right. But putting them through the screening process lessens the probability of you having a problem.
Gotcha. Screening. Now, Daniel, let me ask you, would you rather have an empty unit or a tenant not paying, or a bad tenant?
I'll leave the unit empty.
What makes you? I know I have adopted that philosophy over the years. You know, I wasn't like that at first. I was just like, get to the money, get to the money, get to the money. Were you like that too, Daniel, before you understood how important it was to have an empty unit?
Never.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Never. I'll tell you why. So my dad had a grocery store, you know, here in New York City. And the building owners, the guys, you know, would come in when they were there with their workers to get lunch or whatever, and they will constantly be talking to my dad. And I was very fortunate that I learned how to listen from a young age. And by the time I got into this business, I was remembering all those conversations.
Nice.
So, and then, you know, when I was older, many of those building owners were still in the neighborhood that we had created a relationship with, because they used to come to our store all the time, the grocery store, for lunch. So I was able to go to them and ask them questions if I wasn't sure about something. If they walked in, I would ask them. You know, I wouldn't be calling them on the phone. If they came in, I had a question, I'd ask, you know, I would know which personality, which one of them would be more willing to answer it without getting annoyed.
For my roundupers that made my new landlords or existing landlords, Daniel, what makes it better to have an empty unit as opposed to having a problem, Daniel? Why is that?
You know, it's funny. It's like, to you and I, that's a very simple question, right?
No brainer.
I'm glad you're asking it, because to a lot of people, especially in the beginning, they don't understand it.
I didn't.
Right. The worst thing a new real estate investor could do is get overzealous. And the worst thing a new real estate investor could do is worry about, oh my God, I'm taking out $600 out of my pocket to pay the mortgage because I got that one unit empty, or those 2 units empty, right? Mm-hmm. That $600 is nothing compared to the headaches and the money you're going to spend if you have a bad tenant, because that tenant is now not paying you. You now have to incur legal costs. You got to get the marshal involved. You got to get in there and clean out the place when they're gone, when the marshal kicks them out. Then you got to go back in there and renovate everything that you did already, because they're so angry at you, they're most likely going to leave a mess for you. So whether their anger is justified is irrelevant. The fact is that you're left with the property in this dismissive way. You have to pay it, right? So I'll sleep at night knowing that the apartment that is costing me maybe $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 versus costing me not sleeping at night because I'm angry that someone's living there with their family, sucking up my air, using up my hot water, my electric, my gas, my space that I work so hard for, to plan and then to get for free.
That's deep. And then you still got to have it vacant after they get out, looking for the new tenant.
Yeah. So, in all honesty, no, I rather leave it empty.
Good. I just want to.
I've had it happened to me twice. A matter of two places that were empty simultaneously. I had over 75 applications for each place until I found the right one.
Wow. So are you going to be deploying more Section 8, Daniel, from here and beyond? Or what is it? We'd like to know, what is your game plan? And tell us about your...
Continue my process. It doesn't matter if it's a Section 8 voucher or not. I put them through the same rigorous process. If they qualify, I would give it to Section 8. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I need. Well, I'm asking you these questions. I feel like I'm back with Patrick Bet-David. I asked him a question. He says, "Well, I think you should go until you make 10 million." I'm like, most people won't make 10 million in their lifetime, Pat. So I'm asking you just to step outside of just your realm of business and just for the average ordinary landlord. That's all. I'm just wanting to kind of see if you had one or two rentals or a handful of rentals. I'm presuming what would you be considering Section 8 as an option around this time as we approach the end of the year?
So that's a two-pronged question, I think, but I'll try to answer it the best I can if I understood it right. Let's go back to what I just said previous. It doesn't matter if you're Section 8 or not. I'm going to put you through the same rigorous process. I'm going to give Section 8 more leniency at this time of the year because of the pandemic and because I know I'm going to get paid, right?
Yeah.
Having said that, is $10 million enough? I don't know. If you're referring back to Patrick Bet-David, that's where you and I met at his Bold conference. I think we all have a different sense of what makes us feel rich, and that's what drives us, right? And we all have different tolerance levels. I'll tell you what makes me feel rich. Those diplomas back there. My kids are all going to graduate without any student loans. I don't need to be driving a brand new Suburban.
Nice.
When I walk in my office and I see my kids' diplomas,
cool.
That they don't owe any money on, that makes me feel rich.
That's a good feeling, man.
Right. So, we all have different risk tolerance levels. We all have different definitions of what's rich. I think what we need to do as individuals is do what's going to make us happy, not what other people's expectations have upon us.
Nice. Well, I've had you for 45 minutes, brother Daniel. I would like to get to some Q&A if you don't mind.
Yeah, man, I would. That's the best part of this when you and I do this. I love doing this part.
Me too.
It's like on the cuff, questions you didn't anticipate. But yeah, bring it, man. I love it.
I got to do my commercial, pay the bills, round up my landlords. Next week, I will be releasing this course. This training class here will be involved. It will be part of the course. The Landlord's Guide to Section 8 Housing, Labor Day weekend 2020. I'm going to have a super huge goodie discount for you at the very beginning for the people that support me at the very beginning. I wanted Daniel's opinion on this thing because I trust him. The man's been around the block. He's got a ton of rentals in several different states. So I value his opinion. And we've got Jessica Siegel. She's an attorney. She's going to be talking about tenant screening as well. I've got Rosanna Roden Jackson. She is a Section 8 caseworker. She is going to be on this as well. So she's going to be telling us all her stories, how to deal with the lead-based paint, how she actually handles the applications, inspections, all that stuff. So make sure you go below, click the link, get on our mailing list to be notified when this is done. So I'll give you an email and you can get your course and get started with Section 8 housing. I'm telling you, I'm not worried about it at all. All of us.
Again, you're a Section 8 landlord. You don't have a minuscule of the worries that other landlords are going to have. Not at all. And actually, the two people you just mentioned, I've watched you do the interviews with them. They're fabulous, man. I mean, the information you're giving out, I only wish, especially when you're giving out all this information for free, I only wish this platform was available to me in 1989.
In the past.
Oh, my God.
Same thing.
Whatever amount of units I have now, it wouldn't be double. It would be quadruple that minimum. Because I wouldn't have made all those mistakes, right? You guys, I got to thank you, Kris, for not only having me on, but allowing me to share my experience. But even more so, just the way you put out your content, and I know how diligent you are in researching and doing the background work, especially when you're doing your interviews. I know the hours that you spend. I'm going to tell you thank you for your entire for the audience, whether they say it to you or not. Thank you.
They don't care. They just want to get all the answers.
Yeah.
No, they care. Thank you, Daniel. That means a lot coming from you. Y'all have no idea. This dude has the biggest heart, man. I went to go visit him. Treated us like a king. I'm so mad I don't get to see you this year in New York. Daniel.
I know. We were supposed to meet at the conference, at the Vote conference in July. It's disappointing.
Man.
But let's get to the Q&As.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, we got my commercial in here. Matthew just quit his job. Wow. To be a full-time real estate investor. We got to give you a hands up on that, dog.
Congratulations, brother. Welcome.
You know what, Matt? Let me just chime in before we get to the question. Uncertainty is what kind of is my fuel. Uncertainty. Like, I think I found my wife. My wife, she wants to know 9 to 5, what you're making. I'm like, that's what attracted my wife to me. Uncertainty. Go ahead, Daniel. I'm going to let you chime in on that before you finish your question.
I don't even think I could make it any better than that. That's perfectly put. That uncertainty, man. It's like when you wake up in the morning taking a shower, you're thinking. Before you go to bed, you're thinking. I mean, you and I have spoken about this. I got a pad right next to my bed on my night table. I'm dreaming. I wake up. I write down my idea because I know in the morning I'm going to forget and I'm mad.
Okay. Matthew, beginning with wholesale. Okay. Not going to lie. You're anxious. No doubt. But highly motivated to pursue success. Thank you for the education. That's cool. You guys put your state in here or your city so we know where you're coming from. Sylvia, how does she get more in touch with your mentorship? Daniel in Orlando.
Sylvia, reach out to my. I have a YouTube channel that Kris was very important. He's been an important factor in getting me to get that YouTube up, and he's helped me dramatically. And we've got about 44 videos up there now. It's a good place to start for you. And then I have I put a lot of articles that I think are helpful to real estate investors on my Facebook page, and of course through Instagram. But through either one of those, if you send me a private message, I will without a doubt get back to you. I'll provide you my contact information, or I'll even give it to you right now. It's Daniel Borrero, Borrero Jr. @gmail.com. If you send me an email, we can start communicating. Right now, and through Kris's encouragement, I started my first mentorship group, mastermind for investors. There's 5 people in the group right now. So it's actually been very enjoyable. We're having tomorrow. We're doing our second mastermind meeting, and I was fortunate enough to get Kris Birch on tomorrow. To talk about using self-direct IRAs for financing property. Yeah. So just feel free to reach out either through my email, or one of my social media, USA Land Ventures, and we'll definitely get in contact with each other, and we'll set something up.
Yeah, Rhonda, for the 120 people on here to hear what saith Daniel Borrero, I'm just honored, my friend. Makes perfect sense. What is this? Brittany, I'm in Dan's mastermind class. Do you have a blueprint on how to screen your tenants? Oh, she's talking to. Oh, maybe she's talking to you, Dan.
Yeah, Brittany, that's going to be actually. I think that's going to be our 4th week. Yes, we have the blueprint. You'll be getting an outline the week before.
I'm telling you, screening your tenants.
Actually, I got to congratulate her too. She just went into contract for her first condo investment in Atlanta.
Where?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Hey, okay. Congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations, man. She's doing great.
Congratulations. That's cool. Well, Daniel, you're the perfect person to talk to about. Is that a buy and hold that she's doing?
Yeah, she's doing a buy and hold. Yeah.
You're the perfect guy. Joseph, I was waiting all day to hear. Oh, nice. They're waiting to hear from you, Daniel.
Joseph is he's actually a real estate investor and a real estate agent.
Nice.
Really nice guy. He's about in his 40s, and he's doing extremely well.
Nice.
The guy, and he's extremely knowledgeable. I actually learn from him as much as he learns from me, probably.
That's why I love talking to you. If you were listening to Patrick Bet-David's new course, he talks about the Shoshin attitude, always looking to learn, always looking to learn.
Yeah.
JC, the Section 8 does not pay for a security deposit. That's not true. How do you handle Section 8 tenants not having the funds to pay for a security deposit? Dan, I'll let you go with that before I tackle.
So I think that goes according to the region, but I've always had a security deposit. With the exception of in the beginning in New York, they wouldn't pay for security deposits.
I'm here to tell you, JC, I've had 2 or 3, I can't even remember, several. They're doing gentrification around the country. When they tear those projects down, they are happy to pay for these people's security deposits to relocate them. Not only that, if you get our course, Rosanna is talking about they're doing incentives on top of security deposits for you to take these tenants, because they already know that some landlords, well, let's put it out there. The majority of landlords are nervous about Section 8, and I don't even know why. Go ahead, Dan.
There are incentives out there. Most of the incentives are they'll pay a percentage over whatever the market rate is. That's been my experience.
Rosanna's saying, Daniel, they're writing a check for the security deposit and $2,500 on top.
Yeah.
So
again, I've experienced where they were willing to pay a certain percent over whatever the market was.
Yep. Shit, I take that any day. Any day. They're gonna ruin Dragon. What's up, Dragon? Mobile home parks.
Mobile home parks. That's another great investment area. I mean, that's a place that's been overlooked for many, many years. There's a ton of money made there.
Affordable housing. Housing. Bud, Dan is mentoring. You're another mentee you got there, Daniel.
Yeah, actually, Bud was on our YouTube channel. He came out to our property that we were. He was on the property that we were actually renovating. That we just actually got a contract out.
Nice.
We between the time that we bought it to the time that we got a contract, it's 4.5 weeks.
I think Lady Plants a lot might be. I think I'm feeling the spirit of her statement saying you have to have money to make a deposit. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
J Con Man. Is it true that once a property qualifies as Section 8, it has to remain Section 8 as long as you own it, Daniel?
Not that I know of. I've never heard of such a thing.
Nope.
If that was the case, you would not find a landlord who would do Section 8.
Yeah.
At least not somebody who's thinking reasonably or with common sense.
J Conman 82. You can get it off and on. Now, there are some municipalities that make you do a city inspection as well as a Section 8 inspection. You have to get that, but I don't have. You can do whatever you want. TB, Dan, and Chris, thanks so much. You guys are calming the winds during unsettling times. Thank you.
No, thank you for watching.
Yep. Candy Cane, I will be relocating to Tampa in February. Plan to purchase my first property. What is your advice on what counties are good to purchase, Dan?
So I don't really practice much in the Tampa area. I can tell you that anywhere in the state of Florida, they are much, well, it depends where he's coming from, but they're definitely much more pro landlord than they are tenant. So I do most of my investment properties in Florida are located in Central Florida. So it's taken me approximately between the least amount of time was 3 weeks to evict a tenant. The most amount of times was 6 weeks. So I would first check where you have more of a pro landlord housing court laws or housing laws. And then from that point forth, that will give you a direction of what county you should want to invest in. And then you have to micro into the specific area. And then, of course, that we would have to be speaking for the next hour on what we use to determine which area we're going to micro into.
Gotcha. Good one. Joseph said he's agreeing with you, Dan. Section 8 and dealing with the updates in New York City, the rental laws makes it difficult.
Well, I got to tell you, when he said that, he's obviously from New York City. So if in New York City, you have buildings that are what they call rent regulated. So most rent regulated buildings are over 5 units. So if you're a 6-family building and over, essentially the city tells you what you could raise the rents to, whether it be 0%, 2%, 1%. So, and they even dictate now, they even came out a law that includes me, because I don't own any rent regulated buildings. I refuse to own anything that the government is going to tell me what I can do with my business. But they've now come into my sector of the real estate business, where they're telling us even how much we could charge as a late fee.
Wow.
So if you are a rent regulated building, you're in bad shape.
Yeah. Are you charging an application fee, Dan?
I do not, right? So in New York City, the law is that the application fee cannot be more than $20. And it's a shame, because it costs more to do the credit check and the housing check and the criminal check, and, everything else. Although in New York City, you can't do the housing check anymore. But I don't only charge that. I give that all to the realtors now and let them incur the liability because of all the new laws of what could be said and what can't be said. I don't want to get involved with it anymore. So I have a handful of realtors that have been working with me for over 20 years. I think the one rental agent that I have that's been working with me for the least amount of years is 10.
Gotcha.
They know what applications to bring me and what not to bring.
They know what you're looking for.
And they deal with those fees or whatever that case may be. You want to keep a buffer between you and the tenant as long as you possibly can. It reduces your liabilities.
With words you're using and perhaps something in your comment you may say.
Precisely. Yeah.
Even
though it may have been said totally innocent on your behalf, they could use it and take it out of context.
They can. Dragon, Kris, no regular tenants, lease options, Section 8. Yep, that's me, brother. That's me.
Yep.
Does Brittany, does the property owner pay for inspections for your Section 8?
No.
Yeah,
I have never incurred a cost. Have you?
I remember one time, not me personally, but when I work with other landlords and investors, if they want us to be in charge, like we'll be in charge and go and make sure that it's all that it will pass, and I'll interface with the inspectors for them. If you fail twice, they will charge you it's either $25 or $50 fee to come back out on the third time.
Yeah, see, I've never encountered that, so I can't even tell you that. Yeah,
you try to stay on top of it. Judge Parker, screening or not may bring felons. Oh, I don't care about felons. I love felons, man. They don't want no trouble. Inspection is free. Yes, that's right. Okay, Mark is saying if you get abated, then you pay for the reinspection. That's true too if they cut you off. Good point, Mark. Diamond, do you have a system to report those who destroy your property? Do they get to keep their Section 8 voucher and destroy another property? Good question for Dan.
So I'll tell you what I've done in the past. First of all, when you go to housing court, and anywhere in the city of New York, most of the time they'll let you use housing court records, right, to determine whether that tenant's a good tenant or not. So that's going to affect them immediately, because any landlord worth their weight in gold is always going to check housing report, assuming it's legal within that county, right?
Yep, I do.
So once they see that person's been in housing court, and most likely they would have been there more than once if they're that bad of a tenant, why in God's name would you take them? Mm-hmm. And then if you can't use the housing court records, why are you not asking for canceled checks front and back, or proof of them having paid through the internet or wireless directly to that landlord, right? Mm-hmm. So all this gives you indications of what kind of a tenant that tenant's going to be. In addition, social media, if they're taking pictures in their home, having a party or watching TV, you don't look at that person or sitting on a couch. What you're looking is around the apartment, everything else that's in the background, how they're living. This is all indications of the quality of person that that you're trying to get or not trying to get, actually.
That's right.
So on top of that, they'll leave owing you money, then you sue them, even if it's in small claims court. That small claims court stays on for 7 years. You just got the judgment. You just have to reissue it again. It costs like $6. And I can't tell you how much money I've collected over the years, like from small claims court judgments that they eventually, like one lady, she says, the lawyer called me up and says, well, she says she don't owe you this money. I says, well, then she should have showed up to court. But I'm not disputed if you want in court. Well, she was buying a condo and the bank needed her to clear that up first because the title company wouldn't insure title on the property without having that cleared up first.
Gotcha.
So I paid,
in the driver's seat.
Yeah, it was maybe 11 years later, but I collected all that interest as well.
Wow. Good one. What was that? Priority key this September. I have yet to have anybody destroy I had one lady that was dirty, but from my experience, if you screen them right, Diamond, if you screen, we even go to I have a section in the course. I show you how to go visit, just pop by for a visit. I don't know how that would work in New York, but I'm going by just to say hello, see how you're living right now. Sylvia, front and back of the canceled checks. She loves that one, Dan. That was sharp.
I was taught that by an old timer.
I bet he stole some stuff.
Yeah.
You're like a conduit. You're just passing information down.
I got to tell you, I'm not a smart guy. I got 2 records to prove I'm not a smart guy. But I'm a very good listener, and I've tried to learn from other people's mistakes.
If you have the judgment, Market Schlick says if you have the judgment against them, then they technically lose their voucher. That sounds like it should be true. The kindling, not all of them do. Thank you. Oh, my sister is a Section 8 tenant, and she's a great one. She always pays on time and has 4 kids and doesn't mess the place up. Good. Yeah, that's what I've experienced.
Yeah. Listen, I look at Section 8 tenants just like I would look at anyone else. There's going to be good ones and there's going to be bad ones. Just like there are people that are not on Section 8. There's, bad and good. It's just a matter of you filtering them through. The problem isn't the people, because you're going to find that same dilemma whether they are on Section 8 or not. The problem is within your region, and again, we're going back according to my experience. There's no statistical facts to this or written facts. My experience is all determined. What determines whether I really want to deal with Section 8 is where I'm at. So if I'm in Central Florida and Seminole County, I'll look at Section 8 all day long because they're very responsive in the office. They're easy to communicate with.
Moncelia wants to know, what is housing court? We don't have that here. We just have civil. That's where they do all the warrant and debts, small claim stuff. Housing is thrown in there for the unlawful detainers, but we don't just have like a housing court, Daniel. Go ahead.
So New York City, because I think it's probably more about 11 million now, but I think at one point we were up to 11.
What? Wow.
That many people, you got a lot of housing issues, and in the defense of tenants, there's a lot of bad landlords as well.
Yeah.
They're just not just bad tenants. There's a lot of bad landlords as well. And it's unfortunate because those bad landlords put a cloud upon us all, right? But, the housing court is there to defend tenants against bad landlords. And then the housing court is there to have a section of the law that allows landlords to legally evict a tenant. Is essentially what it comes down to. But when you go in there, I would advise both tenants and landlords. Remember, this is a business transaction. It's not a personal transaction. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that take it personal, then it leads to violence and it leads to unnecessary delays as well as unnecessary stress. Again, try to work it out. There's so much. The best thing to do for both parties is work it out before you even get more.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you for your love offering. My friend Schlick. Schlick has, 70, 80 rentals, man. He does a lot of, I'm trying to get him on here too. Schlick, I'm coming for you next, my brother. You got a bunch. Section 8. Jonelle. Hey, Jonelle, facts. Saw the same legal aid attorney twice while property managing for a family member that kept getting bad tenants. Yep.
Yeah, again, develop a relationship with them. They're not there to, they have a job to do, and so do you, and keep it civil.
Yeah. Round up, get your questions in. We'll go here as long as I have Daniel on here. We got 140 people on here right now, Daniel. I think what you're saying is really striking a chord for the Roundup community. Thank you so much again. Thank you. Janielle, is it worth the time to sue a tenant who vandalizes the property after the lease ends and the tenant moved?
It totally depends. There's times I do and there's times that I don't. If it's like if it's a tenant that even if I win the judgment, there's no possible way I'm ever going to get money, I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah.
If it's a tenant that has a municipality job, I'm going after it all day long. because once you win that, you give it to the marshal or the sheriff, and it take about 6 months, and 6 months later you get this big check, and you're like, whoa, where did this come from? Because the way it works is that they're allowed to take 10% of the gross salary from the day that they give it to the personnel department at that particular that department of municipality, right? Nice. But then it takes that municipality another 6, 7, 8 weeks to catch up. But now when they do catch up, it's 10% of the gross immediately, and then after that, so that check is all gone.
That's pretty good.
There's a lot of factors. One, do I have the time? Two, how angry I am about it. Three, were they decent? If they were decent, they wouldn't have wrecked the apartment.
That's true.
There's a lot of different motivating factors, and what determines if I'm going to do it or not.
Gotcha. It's the same thing Schlick is saying here. He said he thinks it's not worth the time. He's got over 1,000 judgments, and he's collected 2. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't even.
I'll tell you what, it's like if you just keep refiling it every 7 years, there's years I'll get nothing, and then there's years I'll collect $10,000-$15,000. It all depends. Just keep it. If you just keep re-upping the recertifying the judgment, and eventually they're going to show up.
Eventually, yeah.
Somebody who wants to progress in life, right? If they just want to live in the projects their whole life, that's not going to matter.
Yeah. Right. Williams, hey Danny, and during this time of COVID, they're hesitant to acquire properties with? Are you hesitant to acquire properties with tenants, even if they are currently paying and can prove it via the canceled checks and bank statements? Good question, Williams.
Well, that's a question I think for both of us, to be honest with you, Kris.
I went to look at one yesterday. I'm a little nervous, because I'm a little nervous walking through houses still.
Well, I'm not nervous. I don't know if he's asking that question because we're nervous about getting COVID versus the risk that we're taking financially in the event that they don't pay because tenants, aren't getting kicked out by the court system right now. So
good quote. Wow, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So what would be your response to that? I know what my response is.
I'm thinking for me, I'm not going into big debt. Daniel, I'm so with you. Large down payments. Now in my life, I'm like, man, the more money I got working for me means the less money I'm paying to the bank. It's just so simple to see now, but right. I'm like, I couldn't do that years ago.
Right.
But so I've got my payment so low. Yeah, I'm going to try to get a super deal. Yeah, I would take it on. Why not? See if I can't negotiate something. Go ahead, Dan.
I too would take it on, but I'm factoring in evictions into that. So whereas before, if I went into a property, I had to come in with a 30% after renovation value of equity. Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm not coming in with 45 minimal, and I'm assuming the worst, right? I'm assuming, let's say if it's 4 tenants, I'm going to assume 2 of them are not going to be paying in 3 months.
Gotcha.
So my numbers are going to be based on 2 of the tenants paying, not 4. And then if they take the offer, fine. If they don't, I mean, you and I, we talk about this all the time. We don't get emotional. It's just, it is what it is. Yeah. Somebody eventually take it.
Yeah, that's right. Round up. I got to pay some bills real quick. We'll get your questions in over there. Please get your questions in. I got to make sure I remind you. Go to the link, the video description below. Put your email address in. There's a link there so you'll get notified when the Landlord's Guide to Section 8 housing is coming out. I'm diligently working on this for you while I'm being daddy daycare, teaching my kids, husband, dog walker, trying to do all this stuff. And I pray that you receive this in the spirit that we're delivering this. This training here will be included in the Landlord's Guide to the Section 8 housing. I want you to be financially set if and when things kind of go crazy over the next few months, which I'm foreseeing. And that's why I wanted Daniel on here to kind of give us his opinion on what he thinks about. I'm concerned about our real estate market. I'm concerned, brother.
Listen, I look at it this way. I'm concerned, but I'm unconcerned as well. What do we do as real estate investors, right? And as entrepreneurs in general, we resolve problems. That's what you and I do. We fix problems. When we walk into a property that's in a distressed situation, we're financial social workers. We're fixing someone's problem. We're resolving them. We're alleviating the weight off their shoulders. So that's what we do as entrepreneurs. If and when that should happen, which I strongly believe it's going to happen, and it's irrelevant who wins the White House this year. It's going to happen. That is our opportunity to help the economy and get it back on its feet, just like we did in 2008. From 2008 to 2012, it was the real estate investors like you and I that were going out picking up these properties, an abundance of properties that the banks had on their hands, because the banks don't know what to do with this. It's costing them money to pay management companies to go maintain these properties if they were even maintained, and they were poorly maintained. We are the entrepreneurs. We are the salvation of this economy. And I got to be honest with you. This, I'm 57 years old. This is probably going to be my last tour on in reference to this type of an economy again. And I'm excited. Why? Because I have all this knowledge. I got all this experience. I mean, I'm just I have it all bottled up. I want to get it out there.
I'm glad I'm on your side, brother. We got 130 people on here. Thank you guys for joining us. A couple of keys. Is the credit score important, Daniel, if the voucher covers 100% of the rent?
I always want the tenant to have some skin in the game. And yes, the credit score is important. If you pay your bills on time, that shows responsibility. And if the tenant doesn't have any skin in the game, it's less likely that they're going to be willing to comply with the rules, because there's no risk to the tenant, right? So I much rather that the tenant have to pay something. I don't care if it's $100 or $200 a month. And yes, the credit score, in my opinion, matters because it gives me an insight to whether you're responsible or not.
That is true. I got to tell you, I don't even check credit. I'm just being transparent. If you got a voucher, I'm like, but I will tell you that yes, Daniel is so true. Generally speaking, I will say that if their credit is higher, and if they don't pay anything, they got no skin in the game, they have less reason to take care of the place. Now, that's generally speaking, but I have had the tenants that pay nothing keep the place immaculate, so I would say it's both sides.
I'll tell you, I had a situation, one of my properties, tenant's been there for 12 years now, and they had a bankruptcy on their credit score. The credit score
private pay tenant.
Right. Okay. Their credit scores were below 600, believe it or not. But when I met them, I had a really good feeling about them, right? And I've been doing this long enough to know. And then I drove by their house, and that they were actually losing, and the house was immaculate, although they were losing the house. I mean, this house looked immaculate. Cleanest house in the block, right?
Wow.
So I went back, I looked at the credit report, and I saw essentially what was happening. They were fine before 9/11. It was after 9/11.
Yeah.
And then I approached them and talked to them, and it all made sense, everything they had to say.
Yeah.
And you know what? They've been my tenants since.
Wow.
They keep the place like if it was their own. I never get my rent late. If they call me to fix something, they don't give me a problem. They leave me the keys if they're not going to be there. It's easy to work with them.
Wow.
And they've been there since. So yeah, it's a lot of it has to be with your gut. And like I said earlier, you want to have that conversation with them because you want to make sure the personalities are going to get along.
Yes, that's very true. Very true. Round up James Sandman. In my area, I have a program to help the Section 8 tenant buy the house. Is that a program nationwide or is that different in every state?
Well, here in New York, I've never experienced that, neither in Florida. But maybe you could mention.
I don't know. I know we have it here. I've never been able to implement that one. Schlick says that it is here. Dan is an endless source of knowledge. That is very true.
Hello, Chris. Thank you for joining us
Carl wants to know, see USA Land Ventures. Can you speak on properties when you're buying land, Dan? Well, this is a Section 8 training, but you can do something real short.
I'm not sure what the question is in reference to that, though. So
yeah, you got to get deep. This land could be in it.
You can leave me send me an email, Daniel Borrero, BORRERO JR@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Bot 3LA. Dan, I'm in Northeast PA. I have a full-time gig. Invest on the side. Good for you. I currently have 6 doors. Wow. And have done success. Yeah, that's congratulations on that. 6 doors and you working. Good for you.
That's some serious hustling.
Yeah, it is. 6 doors and have done successful BRRRs. Should I start marketing for off-market deals to wholesale/buy and hold?
I love the BRRs. I'm all for that. I've actually built my business on that. But I'm not sure I understand the second part of that question. Do you, Kris?
I'm trying to. The BRR for my roundupers. Huh?
Go ahead, say that.
My landlord is BRRR. There's 2 kinds of that. Now, I don't. These are the ones I'm talking about. Are when people move in them. Daniel, buy it, rent it out, renovate it, rent it out, refinance, repeat, all that stuff. People are living in these houses, Daniel. Or it could be you're speaking of it from the perspective of being a multifamily. Is that where you're at?
Either or. So I am for that process. I've actually started my business with that process, and I actually still use it, not as much as I used to in the beginning. If you're going to live in the property, that's assuming you're going to be doing the work while you live there. There's great tax incentives to do that.
Oh, because
yeah. Since you're going to now hold it for more than a year, when you do flip it, you get 200, since it's your personal home. I'm not sure if it's 1 year or 5 years, but you should talk to your accountant. Even if you got to pay taxes on the gains, it's going to be capital gains, not income. Which, if you were in New York, that's about 17.5% less that you'll be paying in taxes.
Nice.
In addition, if I think it is more than a year that you have to live in it, you're allowed up to $250,000 per person. So if you're a couple, you're allowed up to $500,000 of tax-free capital gains, assuming it was your personal home.
Gotcha. Yeah, personal home, because I know
loans out there. I think it's up to $50,000. You would speak to a mortgage broker. They're called through HUD and FHA 203K loans, if I remember correctly.
Bot 3LLA 227. I'm going to say, if you go to my website, I got to put a shameless plug in here. We are using Facebook to drive our leads in. You will have to have some money, but yeah, off market is where to go right now. I don't know what Daniel's doing, but on market stuff is just the prices are just, and I can look back. It's almost like I have this memory. I can see prices going like this now. This is not the time to buy an owner occupied. I don't know about Daniel, what he would say about that.
I've been experiencing both ends of it. The last unit we bought in Howell, New Jersey. We got a fantastic price.
I'm talking about owner occupied, Dan. I know you're gonna buy at a discount. I mean, I'm talking about
this was owner occupied, but because they wanted out quickly and they didn't want people coming through the house, they were willing that they saw value to my brother and I coming in and closing.
No. Weeks. I'm talking about you getting a realtor, buying a house, going on the market, buying a house. I'm not. So you moved or you bought that house?
No, we bought that house.
I'm talking about somebody looking for a house on the market to live in. A retail buyer. From my experience, the prices are so high right now. I just would say it's not the time to buy.
She has only 6 doors. I would say try to find it off market. Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I'm not. Yeah. Carl, I guess he wants to know what priorities a person should have when buying land. I don't know if you can squeeze that down at all.
Yeah, Carl. That's a whole nother hour. But if you reach out, actually, I've done a video on my YouTube channel, USA Land Ventures, in reference to that. But feel free to reach out to me at my private email, which is Daniel Borrero BORRERO JR @gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer questions.
And they can reach you right there. Roundup, usalandventures.com. Just go to the website and just click contact me. It's right there. You get them.
Yeah,
So you didn't have
that, you know what, I'd really like you to leave those messages on one of my social media platform, because then when I answer it, everybody could learn from it, right?
that's true.
So you're going to present the question that not only you may have, but a lot of other people may have, and I can answer it, and everybody can learn from it, which is what we're really here to do.
That's right. Diamond, do you foresee a program similar to Section 8 for middle income to high income area for those with middle to upper income? Dan.
You know, if I told you that, I'd be lying to you. I'd be surprised. You know, I think there should be something, considering with the devastation COVID is having right now, especially on middle America. Is that going to happen? I don't know.
I was talking to one of my friends the other day. He said it's just going to be a transfer of wealth.
Yeah, it appears to be like that. I think this whole thing is going to widen the gap, unfortunately.
Big Brother in Life, will the BRRR strategy be taught in the training? Is that for Dan? I don't know.
You know, yeah, that's something I'm going to be covering on my mastermind groups. Like I said, there's no fee right now, but it's, you know, it's a limited amount because I could only do so many per week. But again, feel free to reach out to me to either Facebook would probably be best, or Instagram, USA Land Ventures, and I'll be more than happy to provide you any of that information. If that was for me, I'm not. Now I would let Kris answer that as well, though.
No, I mean, I'm not teaching that strategy. I did that strategy when I started out. I bought my first place. I just rented it out to my friends. I didn't even know it was a strategy.
Yeah, it's funny. Neither did I. I didn't know there was a name for it.
Daniel, I'm like, you want a room? All right, $500. You want a room? $500. Let's go. David, Dan, do you use property management companies to manage your out-of-town properties?
So believe this or not, I don't. And I'll tell you why.
You're a beast.
I don't buy. So any houses I buy out of town, I actually flip those. I don't keep them. What I keep are condos, and there's a reason for it, because they're easy to manage. So essentially, I go in, I renovate them. If you go to my website, usalandventures.com, we have some of them for sale, and I'm not telling you this because I want to sell you anything, but if you go to the website, you're going to see that all of my units, they have the same color paint, they have the same cabinets, the same counters, the same floors, same everything, right? So we buy everything in bulk, and when we renovate so that I don't renovate to make it sexy. I renovate to make it last. The quality is what I'm most concerned with, right? So I'll never use half-inch sheetrock. I'll only use 5/8, for instance. You know, that's just one simple thing, right? So I never use the cheap doorknobs because, you know, the $8, $9 doorknobs, because they're gonna break, and that's something I gotta fix later. So, you know, I never go with the Glacier faucets. I'll go with American Standard or Deltas. You know, so you spend a little bit more, but you spend less time managing, right? So on the condos, the reason we buy condos when we're doing from afar management is because once I renovate those, I'm done. Because once you pay that HOA fee, it covers your landscaping, your parking area, the exterior lighting, the painting outside, the waterproofing, the roof. It covers everything. I'm only concerned with the inside, and I did that already. So what's there to do? I pick up the phone, I call one of my contractors that's probably on another job renovating a unit anyway, and I say, go over here and fix the leaky faucet or change the garbage disposal machine. It's very simple stuff, and it rarely happens. So I don't need a management company for that reason, but that's exactly why I don't buy houses from afar to manage, because then you got to worry about the landscaping and everything else that comes with the exterior.
You do.
Yeah.
Good question, David. Good question. Thomas, did you purchase property with Section 8 in mind, Daniel?
I never did. It happened. Like I said, I don't have a lot of Section 8. I know Kris does. There's a lot of investors. That's all they'll do is Section 8. And like I said earlier, those investors that concentrated with Section 8, they're good. They're going to weather the storm. Come hell or high water, they're good.
Well, I said it when I'm buying rental property, right? I'm setting Section 8 as the standard regarding for the rent, right? So I know I got a 3-2. I know I can get 1,200 from Section 8. I know that's what I want for rent, So every city's different though. So, but that's around Hampton Roads. I know I can get if a private pay is not going to pay me 1,200, and I know I can get it from Section 8. Well, I know that's what I'll get. So, and that's immediate area. So that's the bar that I'm looking for cash flow. And every house is different. Some houses I don't want to do a lease auction because I know I want to keep it, So I'll just throw a Section 8 tenant in there. And I'm telling y'all, they have paid my houses. The United States. Why not partner with the biggest, baddest business in the land?
You know what, Kris? I've never looked at it that way, but you are the man. That is a great way to look at it. And you know what? You just enlightened me. I'm going to keep that in my mind. I'm going to use that if you don't mind.
Yeah, why not? I'm like, I learned it from. I'm here to say I learned it from listening to a bunch of Donald Trump books back in the '90s. The old Donald Trump, not the new Trump.
Yeah, he was all affordable housing.
I'm like, the baddest business in town is the government. Why not partner with them? So, okay, salute roll there. The poor. Danny, Section 8 versus the poor door in New York City. Can you explain? What's that?
If I think I think I know what he's talking about, and if I'm wrong, Williams, just let me know. So what happens is that they get what the developers get, and there's not going to be much more developing in New York City, I don't suspect. But let's say they want to go up with a 50-story building, a 30-story building, right? They'll say they want to get these tax abatements from the city. So the city will say, we'll give you the tax abatement, right? But you got to give a certain percentage of the doors to affordable housing. So now what happens is you could have somebody who just paid or is paying rent, $5,000, $4,000, because they got a doorman, they got all these amenities, they got, it's a beautiful lobby. But then you have a separate door on the side for the people that are paying affordable housing rates, that they had to put those doors aside to get those tax breaks.
Yeah.
Right. So they call that the poor door. But that creates a lot of animosity, especially when they're using the amenity areas. I mean, I can't tell you how many articles I've read where fights break out because, the people that are paying $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 are upset that this person's getting the same benefits of the usage of the amenities, and they're only paying $1,500, let's say, or $2,000.
Wow.
And so it creates a lot of animosity. I've stayed away from that. I've never had to encounter it. I could only tell you from what I've read.
Gotcha. We got 120 people still on here listening. Daniel Don had a tenant that was evicted. They got a judgment. Question is, I have to sue on it to receive it in Ulster County, New York. Is that true?
So that's an open-end question. So, and again, I'm not an attorney, so I could only tell you according to my own personal experience. So if the property was in Ulster County and that's where you went to court to evict the tenant, if the tenant, you could win the case there, but now you have to transfer that judgment to whatever county they moved to.
Where they're at.
Right. And then, I wouldn't go through all that unless you know that there's money to go get. Where a place where the marshal or the sheriff could go get this money, then do it, of course. Or if there's property you could lien, of course, then do it. But if you can't, why bother? You're chasing a dead horse.
Yeah, I would think so too. David, where can I get an all I's and T's crossed rental agreement? That will be included in the landlord's guide to Section 8 housing. But go ahead, Dan. You got one too.
Well, you and I have spoken about that.
Because you got to work on yours.
You saw my stuff, and you were like, "Wow."
We got to get Daniel's. Yeah, we still need to do it there. That's right.
So essentially, my leases are about 5 pages long. And what happens in my situations, because I've been in the business so long, I started off with a regular Bloomberg lease, which you could get online. It's very inexpensive, or you could pick it up at Staples. And what I've done with my leases is every time I encounter a different problem with a tenant or a different situation, I will call my attorney, whatever part of the country that may be in, right? Because there's different laws in the city of New York, there's different laws in southern Jersey and northern Jersey, and there's different laws in the state of Florida. And then it also depends on what county you're in the state of Florida. So I always speak to the attorney and I say, okay, this is my problem. This is where I encountered. How do I write it up in my next leases? And I'll incorporate that into the next lease. So yeah, my leases are about 5 pages long, but that's because I've encountered situations over the 31 years, and I want to, I may have lost money or created aggravation. I want to lessen that aggravation or lessen that expense down the road. And I make up for it because of the lessons learned.
Let's see. Knee Huff. Cash for everything. That's get your questions in, round up. I will be using this training here on the Landlord's Guide to Section 8 housing. But Dan, will you continue to purchase condos with COVID? Most people are trying to get into houses. That's very true. Appreciate all your advice, by the way. Good. Thank you, Bud.
Bud, absolutely. I'm actually I'm working on 2 contracts right now. And Bud actually sent me to evaluate some condos in Connecticut. I didn't think it was the numbers made sense, but because at the end of the day, there's people. I did a video on this actually while I was away. I call it the donut effect, right? So you have a donut, right? You have a donut, and everything in the middle of that donut is the city's environment, whether it be Chicago, Los Angeles, New York City, Boston, any major city, right? And then the donut effect is where everyone's leaving the city. And why? Because city environments have, culture. They have museums. They have restaurants. They have the theaters. They have the easy transportation in and out, getting to work. You don't need a car, right? But because of COVID, so now in return for that, people are living in smaller spaces for more money than they could live if they move to the suburbs, right? 30, 40-mile radius, correct?
Yeah.
That's the donut effect. So the middle's clear is the city. Everything, the dough is the suburbs. Well, what's happening, and I'll give you a case in point, that property bought in Howell, New Jersey, it's about 40 miles from the city. That property was comping out at like $390. We got $35,000 over asking.
Wow.
Coming from northern part of Jersey where the cities are. So people are saying, let me leave the city because I no longer need to be close to work because this pandemic has changed our entire work environment, right? It's teaching people both employees and employers how to work from home. Right? So they don't have to come into the they don't have to work close to home, they don't have to live close to work anymore, even if they come in once, twice a week, right?
I like that.
And then on top of that, they can't enjoy everything the city has to offer because you got to stay inside. All right, especially like in New York City, you can't even go eat inside. I don't know what to do, right? So they can't enjoy what the city has to offer, and then they're stuck inside, especially if they have kids, and kids are running around, making noise. And it's not nothing wrong that the kids are doing. They're doing what kids do. That's not something they're doing wrong. So they're moving to the outside. So, but yes, I am buying condos, and yes, I will still buy in the city because they will come back.
Gotcha. Good point. Yeah, you know what? I got a front yard, backyard, deck, and I'm going crazy with the kids. I'm like, I can go outside anytime. I can imagine, Dan.
Listen, my daughter, one of my daughters, she's 29 years old. She moved, she lives on her own, and she was coming home every week for like 3 or 4 days just to sit in the yard, enjoy the pool, just because otherwise she's sitting on a fire escape.
Yeah, that's rough.
Get fresh air, right?
Wow, that's a rough one. The Motivational Cafe. Hey, Kris, wanted to know, I love your training. Wanted to know if you're running any sales right now on products. I am not. No sales at this time, my friend. Thank you for checking this out, though, man. Thank you. Loreno Perez. I purchased an off-market Section 8 single-family home, $10,000 under ask. Good for you.
Good for you.
Rent, profit $625. Section 8 tenant is better than my regular tenants. There you go. I will be moving my other door to Section 8 tenant as well. Loreno, good for you, bro.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Perez. Thank you for your service.
Thanks for your service, my brother. I'd love to hear these success stories about people using Section 8, Daniels, when everybody thinks it's so bad. I love to hear
success stories in any side of this business, man. I just love the fact that people are getting over the fear factor, because how many people will pay for all these lessons or sit here and listen to all this free information and do absolutely nothing with it? I'm just excited that I see so many more people getting over that fear factor and taking that leap of faith.
That fear can be something, can't it?
Yeah.
That fear can be something. Next question. Round up. Get your questions in for Daniel. Bot 3 LLA. Dan, I recently cashed out from 2 BRRs. Should I hold on to the cash considering the uncertainty of the market or continue to buy? Good question.
Look, I'm still buying, but I'm buying, like I said, if I would have bought with a 30% equity after renovation value, I'm not touching that. I got to come in at 40 to 45% minimal. And otherwise, I won't even look.
What do you mean by that, Daniel? But just explain that a little bit more for people that may not know.
So let's say the property, let's use simplistic numbers. Property's going to be worth $100,000 after I fix it, right? But if the property needs $20,000 of work, right? I'd have to be coming in. I take the $20,000 off. That's 80. I'm going to take another 25,000. So if I can't buy that property and renovate it at $55,000 for that when it's going to be worth 100, I don't touch it.
Got it. Deeper discount.
Yeah, because we don't know where the market's going to be in 3 months.
We don't.
So we need to hedge our bets. That's what we need.
Deeper discount, basically.
That's the defensive side of the business.
You're hedging against the future. You don't know.
Correct.
I just call us hedge fund managers, dog. I just make sure the fund is hedged. Janelle, is it true the number of bedrooms the home has determined how much the Section 8 will pay? You want to get that one?
That's my experience in New York City. I don't know about in Virginia.
Yeah, it depends on the bedrooms. And I will tell you, a lot of people have special needs children. They'll get a lot higher for a 2-bedroom or even a 1-bedroom. They'll pay a little bit more. There are a lot of different circumstances in where you can get more for a smaller bedroom.
Listen, guys, there's so many different ways, Section 8, because Section 8 has programs for VAs. They have programs for the mentally disabled or the physically disabled. There's different sections that Section 8 will cover as well. So, there's so many different avenues that are available to you. And some of them will pay a premium because, those individuals are going to need services or better access, whatever that may be, to that unit.
And at the end of the day, Janelle, you're solving, once again, Daniel said it, all we're doing is solving a problem. That's all we're doing. We're real estate investors, but in actuality, we're entrepreneurs, and that's what we do, fix problems. That's what we do. I love that. JC, Daniel, do you expect single-family home prices to decline starting in the spring 2021?
As long as we still have that donut effect going on, I think single-family homes in suburbs are going to keep going up in price. So, for instance, upstate New York, where pricing was dropping like a dead weight rock going down in a lake, all of a sudden it's like blooming, like where people lost 20% 2 years ago, they now increased value of over 40%.
Unreal, man.
Yeah, so it all depends on what happens in Washington in the next 3 months, because we got to see who wins, and then we got to see what their reaction to the market's going to be immediately after, and that's what's determined. So the way I'm approaching this is, like I said, I'm still playing offense, but I'm playing defense simultaneously. So if the market drops, I'm okay, and if the market doesn't drop, I'm just happen to be doing better.
I'm okay. You know what? I think that's a sign of just a mature investor. No shiny object syndrome. If it goes super high, I'm okay. If it crashes, I'm okay.
Right.
Joseph, really enjoyed this call. Oh, yeah, good for you. Thank you. Thank you for coming, Joseph.
Thank you, Joseph.
Eduardo lives in Cali. Is Section 8 the best way to start property investing, Daniel?
I think it is, as long as you're willing to go, because you have less tolerance for risk, right, as far as tenants not paying. So it is, as long as there's a couple of things you need to remember. You as a landlord, your primary job is to provide a safe and clean environment to every tenant.
Yep.
That's your job. Their job is to pay you. Now, Section 8 is more of a guarantee that you're going to get paid. Okay. But remember, you got to go through that screening process. That's what's going to hedge your bets. That's your defensive move to make sure you have less problems, or to lessen the probability of having a problem.
I like that. Lessen the probability, because nothing is 100% sure.
No.
Nothing. Diamond, thank you for enjoying this conversation about Section 8 pros and cons. Thank you, Diamond, for showing up. Thank you. Kris, you mentioned the development will stop in New York. What's going to happen with the abundance of vacant condos? Will developers be looking to reduce prices or turn to rental units?
So Kris lives in New York City. He lives in Brooklyn. And so where he lives, I actually know Kris very well. He's a relative of mine, actually. And where he lives, there was a lot of development going on. And Kris and I have been talking about this for years. I personally think the city of New York is overdeveloped. They were putting in so many units. And now with this pandemic, I personally think there was going to be an abundance. So the city of New York never averaged more than 2.5% vacancy rate. Sometimes it would even go down to 1%. From my understanding, it's almost up to like 5.5 to 6%. So
those
condos have already dropped. So the units that were above like $5 to $10 million have dropped it by 50% to 45%. I suspect the units that were at like 2 million or $1.5 million are going to drop another 50%.
Wow. That much, Dan?
Oh, without a doubt, man. Everyone's leaving. There's no incentive to stay. Like before, what was the major incentive? People needed to be close to work.
I see what you're saying.
What was the incentive? The culture, the parks, the eateries, the easy transportation. That doesn't exist anymore.
Wow, that's deep. Good one, Kris. Thanks.
This is going to be something to watch on a weekly basis and then determine. You're going to have to maneuver like this as you go along.
That's deep. That's deep. Okay, we have here Big Brother in Life. Is the Text Blast Masterclass still available? Yes, I'll put it in the link. I'll put it right here in the video description, and it'll be in the chat. Big Brother in Life, just look in the chat. If you don't have the chat, just click the little button to open your chat. I'll put the link right there for you. And I will be adding that to the website soon, too. We didn't add it yet. Thanks for asking about that. Let's see. TB Williams has seen elderly to be a win-win for Section 8 tenants, too. That's right. Big Brother in Life, I got you there. Neha, what'd you say, Dan?
Yeah, very much so. I agree.
Nehuff, what are your thoughts on all these vacant office buildings? What type of investment strategy would you do there? They are vacant.
I got to tell you the truth. If I was a younger man, about 10 years younger, I'd be putting a load of money into them. I'd be buying as much as I can. I personally think the whole commercial and office space industry is going to go through a huge change, but we're going to go to another avenue. So with the way the market's going with online purchasing, and again, Kris, I've never read. I can't tell you statistically.
You are the research, Dan. Come on, stop being so. You are the. I am the research.
The point is that you're going to have those buildings are going to be turned into mixed-use properties where you're going to have residential on top, commercial on the bottom. You're going to have. It's going to be a change to cold storage because you're going to have so many new ways or new markets within the internet itself.
Amazon type stuff.
They need storage space and they need it more centrally located to where they're delivering to. So that whole market's going to change. The mall areas, I mean, they were going in this direction already to an extent, but I think now they're going to be all entertainment rather than shopping. You're going to see this COVID virus is changing everything upside down. And I got to tell you the truth. It's sad because, we got, I think, 176,000 people that have died in the United States and countless others affected. But the exciting part from a business point of view is that I'm going to be able to witness who are going to be the
winners.
the winners, who's going to think outside the box. If I was 10 years younger, because I'd have the time, I'd put all my money into commercial right now.
Holy cow.
And I'd be in it for the long run, for the long term.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for 10 to 15 years from now.
Bud Ram Kassoon, can you rent a condo to Section 8? Good question.
Yes, you can, assuming the HOA documents do not stop you from doing that.
I can imagine that they would say you can't do it. You can do a regular tenant, but you can't do a Section 8 tenant. I couldn't imagine that paperwork, Dan.
Oh, and not only that, the lawsuits. But
yeah, that would be.
When I say assuming, it's assuming that within the condo, they allow you to rent in general.
And that's true, but I know that there's several HOA associations that do not allow rentals. So make sure you look over those papers. It's stuck like Chip. Trucker, how do I learn to buy houses for Section 8? Man, that's a long one there. Daniel has his mastermind. Or you can join our coaching program. Just go to my website. Look at this. Brother Birch. Daniel has launched his mastermind. Kris Haskins already does his, and get in contact with these guys. Chris Birch, he's your next guest, right?
Chris is going to be my guest tomorrow night, and I'm really excited because, Chris is just full of information, especially when it comes to self-direct IRAs. He is the man, so I can't wait to introduce him to our mastermind tomorrow.
Yep. Let me see. What else we got? Daniel, we made it.
Yeah, we're good.
Final thoughts for my new landlords, Dan. Thoughts for landlords in general about Section 8 housing. In your opinion, you've been doing this since 1989. I so value your perspective, your outlook, your philosophies, the way you process information, the way you are able to always learn from others as well as teach. What are you going to leave us with tonight for my people that are going to invest in this course?
So I'm going to tell what my first thing, and again, it's not an advertising pitch. If whether you're a seasoned landlord or if you're not, if you're a seasoned landlord but never really dealt with Section 8, I would look into Kris Haskins' course regardless, because like I said to you, I personally think Section 8 landlords are going to be the ones to weather this storm the best. If you're a new real estate investor, I would definitely look into Kris Haskins' course because, again, you're going to weather this storm the best way possible, and you have less tolerance to risk when you're starting off in this business. So the Section 8 will lessen your risk in reference to making sure that you have continuous cash flow. Mm-hmm. Again, but there's assuming you're making the repairs and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing as a landlord. Remember, we as landlords, our job is to provide a safe and clean environment. Having said that, like I said, if you're a Section 8 landlord, you're going to weather the storm. If you're a seasoned real estate investor and you've played the defense and prepared, you'll be fine regardless. But if you want to lessen those probabilities of not being fine, go into Section 8.
It's weird. I was as I'm putting it together, I'm like, good God, man, I just wish because I learned Section 8 one step at a time.
Right.
It was like, okay, learn that. Okay. I don't know how much money I lost because I didn't know, but I'm like, damn, if it was a way that I could have just plugged into a system, back in 2007.
Well, yeah, it's like with me in 1989, there was no internet. I mean, if I wanted to know something, I had to go to the library and look up microfiche for newspaper articles. I don't even know if your audience even know what microfiche is, Again, guys, Kris is here. I'm here. Get the course. It's well worth the money because you're gonna bypass all the mistakes costing you a lot more money than the course will cost you.
Yeah, it's not much, man. A couple $100.
And if you guys have any questions, right? And if you want to say a thank you to me, please visit my YouTube channel, USA Land Ventures, and subscribe. If you have any questions, go to my Facebook page, USA Land Ventures, and like the page, or Instagram and follow. We put up a lot of content, and each platform I'm able to put up different content because Facebook will allow me to post really good articles, whereas I can't post it on Instagram. on YouTube. So again, follow all three, and you'll have more than enough information to get this started. And if you have any questions, ask. I love responding.
Daniel, thank you so much. I wanted to say, still got 110 people on here. Round up. Make sure you go to the video description, get on our notification list so you'll know when the course will be available. It will be out next week, Labor Day weekend. All right, Daniel, that's all I got for you, my friend.
Good night, everyone. And, again, thank you for having me on, Kris. It's always a pleasure. And I can't wait to have you on my YouTube channel. You and I got to do that together. It'll be great content as usual.
Yeah, man. Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.
Good night. Bye-bye.